You have needs, but not all needs are created equal. When it comes to managing your money, you got to make sure that some needs are taken care of before you handle others. Today, I'm going to show you how to use Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Let me move myself out of the photo. In order to create a money management system that works for you and gets all of your needs covered. So, if you take a look at my screen, we have this lovely graphic, Maslow's hierarchy, and we're going to go through this real quick, and then the rest of this video is going to be all about budgeting. So, at the base of the triangle, before we handle anything else, we got to take care of physiological needs. That's air, water, food, and shelter, clothing, sleep, reproduction, right? Basic, keep you alive, keep you housed, fed, etc. stuff. So financially, a physiological need would be something like groceries, rent, right? Next, we have safety needs. Personal security, health and well-being, stable environment, financial security, and safety nets. So from a financial standpoint, this would be things like healthcare expenses, savings, things like that. Next, we have love and belonging, family, friendships, community, romantic relationships, group membership, affection, and intimacy. So here we're getting into emotional needs. Now, at this point, money doesn't necessarily purchase these things for us, but it is difficult to maintain a friendship if you can never afford to go anywhere or do anything. So we need at least some money to be allocated towards ensuring that we're able to afford to pursue activities with friends and family and go out into the community. Next, we have esteem, self-respect, confidence, respect from others, reputation, recognition, and achievement. So this might be things like making sure that we see ourselves a certain way, and ensuring that our self-confidence is higher. So this might be specific fashion choices, clothes that make us feel good about ourselves. Finally, we have self-actualization, creativity, personal growth, moral development, pursuit of meaning, purpose-driven action, peak experience. So this is up here at the top of this pyramid. We realize our full potential once we're able to meet these needs. But you can't have self-actualization. You can't put money into creative pursuits if you do not have, for example, your physiological needs covered. If you can't make rent, then it's a lot harder to have money available for a self-actualization need. So I am going to move this guy over so he's visible but out of the way. And we are going to take a look at how to translate this into money management. So this column is going to be our Maslow's hierarchy. I'm abbreviating physiological needs as phys, Maslow level. This next column is going to be what the budget line item is. For our first example, I'm going to put housing, so that's rent. This column is going to be interval, and I'll explain that in a moment. And then this last column is going to be cost. How much do these things cost? So, since we're looking at this delightfully color-coded picture, I'm also going to start color coding these lines. This is a physiological need. We're going to turn it red. Okay. Interval. How often do we pay rent? Most people pay rent or a mortgage once a month. So I'm going to type the word month here. The cost for rent, I'm going to put $1,000 as a sample. For some people, that may be very high if you live with roommates. For some people, that may be very low if you live alone. But this is just an example budget, right? So we have our Maslow level, the item that we're covering, how often we pay it, and how much it costs. So, the next thing we need to do is have a list of everything that's going to be in this level, physiological needs, how much it costs, and how often we pay it. So there will be utilities, groceries, it's odd to me to put a clothing budget since most people already own their clothing. But you may need a clothing replacement fund. For example, if your shoes break, you do need to replace them. Sleep isn't something you can necessarily purchase. Air also. Water, probably covered under utilities. However, this may look different for you. For example, if you need a CPAP or a sleep aid, that would fall under physiological needs, right? So, I'm going to take this column, physiological needs, and I'm going to drag it down because that's what all of these things are. This is step 1. Now, utilities, we pay monthly, typically. Groceries, most people shop for groceries maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. I'm going to put week. Clothing, this one is variable, right? So this is something that you might save for, and then when you need it, you buy it. So I'm going to put variable. And then SAV, short for saving. So, if this here is going to be the cost for a month, but then groceries is going to be the cost per week, that number is going to look a little bit ridiculous compared to these numbers, right? So, if this is our monthly cost column, we need a per check column, so that's every 2 weeks or half of the month typically, and a per week column. Now, this might look like a lot of work, but Excel can do this for us. So I'm going to put groceries per week. This is what I spend. We're going to do our color coding. Now, generally, people get paid every 2 weeks, approximately twice a month. So, the important numbers for a budget are going to be in this per check column, right? When you're managing money, you need to make sure that every check is covering your expenses. So, if my rent is $1,000 a month, then every check needs to give me $500 a month. But for all of the different things we're about to put on here, I don't want to do that math, right? So instead, I'm going to use a function. I'm going to type equals, so that tells my spreadsheet that I'm going to give it a function. Then I'm going to click this cell because that has my important number, and I'm going to use a slash. That means divided by 2. So my per check number is 500. Now see how it's giving me autofill. It's suggesting, hey, do you want to do that same thing? So I don't want to do that for all of it because, right, our groceries isn't a monthly cost, it's a weekly cost. But I am going to drag this down. So if I click into this cell, I can look up here in the function and I can see that it took cell D3, which is my utilities, and it divided it per month. So we're starting to see how much it costs per check to cover just physiological needs, right? groceries per week, so that means per check, equals my per week times, that's the asterisk, 2. And so on and so forth. So, we're going to have safety needs. We're going to have some love and belonging. That's our going out money. We're going to have maybe a little bit in esteem. And I'm not going to do much after that because this is going to vary pretty widely from person to person. What I'm going to do, since we're starting to see how much we need per check, I'm going to create a spot that says income. I'm going to give this a border so we know it's an important number. But I'm going to leave that blank. That's going to be a function for us because a lot of people in our generation, we side hustle, right? We have job number 1, and then we have maybe a little part-time gig, maybe some little dog walking on the side, right? Maybe some people swear by affiliate marketing, that type of deal. So we're going to go job 1. And because I don't like the way this looks, I'm going to align this text to be a little bit further from our budget columns. And then I'm going to abbreviate side hustle 1, side hustle 2, side hustle 3. All right. So let's say your paycheck from your regular job is going to be $1,400, and you side hustle, and every 2 weeks you make another $150. Again, these numbers are, I'm just giving them as examples, okay? Here in this income box, equals, telling it we're giving it a formula, sum, so that means we're adding a bunch of numbers, beginning parenthesis, I'm giving it a bunch of numbers all at once, and then I'm going to take my mouse and click and drag to all these different spaces we can put money in. End parenthesis to tell it this is the rest of the formula. So this is giving us what bi-weekly income is going to look like. So then if I change this number, maybe the paycheck is only $1,200 every 2 weeks. That changes this number. I'm going to put this in bold. So we know, okay, this number is our important number. So, all the way down at the bottom of the per check column, I'm going to make a more complex formula, equals sum, beginning parenthesis. We're going to add up everything that we're taking out of our check. I like the look of having an extra space here. End parenthesis. I have done this slightly wrong. All right. It is equals income amount minus sum of that. So it's the check minus all this. So right now, this is an important cell. This is our money left after covering basic physiological needs. Rent is usually the big one for a lot of people. So now, let's put the rest of our needs on there and see where we can flex.